Hello, everybody. I'm Simply,
I'm Cheese.
and this is Bum Ba Da Bum, the Two Dads Podcast, live once again. It's been a while, but we're back up in this bitch. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure to be back. How are you doing, Cheese? It's been a little while.
I'm amazing, man. I mean, how are you doing? Everything is fine. We just played Minecraft for an hour in our new server, with our
Shit's
viewers.
it's lit.
It's a lot of fun, and now we're here with the two and a half dads. Because I mean, with the two dads, but we have another dad today that we're gonna talk about soon. But first, Simply is gonna give us his nice rundown.
Yes, I will. Yes, I will. Okay, so we're gonna start with the a little bit about GSA. I'm sure you guys all know the leagues have started. They've got the 70-star Division 1, Division 2. They're actually going right now with the 16-star league. They got the Celeste Any Percent League. There's also the Mario Kart Double Dash Time Trials. And they've also got a battle. Is it Battle from Bikini Bottom or Battle
Yes,
for Bikini Bottom?
Battle from, I believe.
You don't know.
I'm pretty sure.
It's Battle for Bikini Bottom.
Damn it.
They started the tournament. That's pretty hype. And speaking of Battle for Bikini Bottom, Shift got a new record, 53.50. I don't know if that was what broke the barrier of 54. I know he's been grinding for that for a while. Do you know?
I'm not 100% sure, but I don't know. I couldn't say.
Well, you know, they're doing a thing. They did the thing. So that's lit. TGH is as he does bopping off in Celeste. They got the new discovery. Do you know what's actually going on? Why is there so much time save? What's the specifics?
So first of all, there was a 12-second time save that was found about, please don't hit me because I'll probably be wrong, 3-4 months ago. It's called Demo Dash, which is in the third chapter, and it saves 12 seconds. It's a pixel perfect dash that skips a lot of the stage. And that was the first big thing. And then just about a week ago, there was a prologue skip found. So basically, if you paused frame perfect right before the cutscene started in the prologue, right in the beginning of the run, you were able to skip the entire cutscene, which saves 18 seconds. So now, the game devs of Celeste, saw that this glitch was a thing, and they actually patched the game to make the cutscene skip like way more consistent.
Really?
Well, actually, at this point, it's not even a trick. All you have to do is pause when the cutscene starts, and you could skip it. So the game devs themselves decided that they thought that would have been cool to have in a run, because they thought that it would have been, it made it easier to get 27, which would have been hype. So the game devs did that to make the time save, pretty much free, so you could skip and make the intro faster, which is always more fun. So that's an 18-second time loss. So 30-second time loss in the past few months. Time save, sorry. That's basically, 18 seconds of it being free. So that's probably what made the biggest jump recently.
Yeah.
And well, TGH is, and also
He's bopping.
Flattery, they're just monsters. So
They definitely are. The TGH holding it at 28.07, and second place you got Flattery with a 28.19 6 days ago. So they're both pushing towards that 27-minute mark. And speaking of the devs, I don't know if we brought this up at the last one, but the devs of Celeste are sponsoring the GSA Celeste League to give a $5,000 prize pool for the playoffs, or not the playoffs, but
it's huge.
The thing that happens at the end.
I mean,
but it's gonna be lit. It's gonna be lit.
For the
What's your thoughts?
I mean, it's never happened before in speedrunning. This is the first time that speedrunning has had an official league with a prize pool, and that a really significant one at that. That is going to be performed, or at least the finals are going to be performed at a live event. This is all first speedrunning, and it's insanely hype. I'm going to be there. Hopefully you guys would be as well.
I'll be there. Pace, baby.
Yeah, man.
Pace 2019.
It's huge. But of course, that's not it, right? There's also going to be pretty significant prize pools for all the other games in the league, which are 4 others. So, yeah.
It's going to be wet. It's going to be very wet.
Wet.
Speaking of wet, Chaos Pringle, he's doing his thing in Super Mario Odyssey. 15 days ago, got the 1 hour 24. They are slowly but surely pushing down to the sub 1 hour mark. And Equan, you know, not too far behind at 1 hour 38 and Accurate at 1 hour 40. They are all, it's very intense competition. There's actually a tie at 4th, Susaiga and Lil Curbs, both with a 1 hour 47. So it's popping. It's popping off. It's bopping, and it's lit. And that's about. But
since the beginning of that game, since it first came out, that game it's immediately been popular, and it always has been pushed and optimized, and it's probably the most craziest speed game apart from Celeste in terms of how quick it's been improved and just pushed to the limit. I'm looking forward to it. Hello? Hello?
Is my thing off?
Oh, what the hell? No, Discord froze for like 10 seconds. We're good. What? It's freezing again.
Wait, can you hear me now? Does it work any better?
Yes, you're good.
All right. Without further ado, can you tell me a little bit about what's popping on the podcast? Who's our dude?
Well, I can tell you what's popping gamers because
shit.
Today we have the alphaist of all gamers, and he's a beautiful man and has a beautiful YouTube channel and a Twitch channel, and he's an amazing speed gamer as well. And without further ado, I mean, let's just bring him on the show, man. Everyone knows who he is. Well, hopefully. He goes by the name Wqqqqwrt, and I'd like to officially welcome him to the show. Welcome, WQ. How are you doing?
Yo, what's up, gamers? How y'all doing? Right here, right now.
Welcome, man. How are you doing? Well, so to pop it off, like we do with all of our guests, we always do a little intro. So, you know, we want to know about you, where you started, why you started, and yeah.
Yeah, how'd you get into this?
That's an interesting story. So I actually, much like many other people, was watching Siglemic's 2012 World Record streams, and I thought they were really sick. And then I started watching AGDQ 2013, and this was actually coinciding with the Evo donation drive for Melee, because I used to be a Melee head, and then I really got into speedrunning, but I didn't want to speedrun. I was like, nah, it's not for me, you know. And then
classic.
and then I was watching. If you guys know who Crystal is,
Yeah.
Crystal used to be the old A Link to the Past guru, and I was really got into the Crystal's speedruns, and then I started practicing offline for like 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And then I actually ran on an alt account for like the first 2 months of October, and then I started up my moniker. Well, it's not in my real name, WQ, and that went on for several years. And then recently, I've been trying to be a little more outspoken about who I am and what I'm trying to do, and how I'm trying to help people. But that is the origin story.
Sweet. All right. So, what gave you the interest for A Link to the Past exactly? I guess.
But I guess it's like 2 or 3 things. The game, I liked the game a lot when I was a child. I played it a lot, and I loved it so much. And it's so fun. It's such a good game. But then I didn't want to speedrun at first. Like I wasn't never my plan. My plan was to just watch speedrunning and like do other things. And then Crystal, like for some reason, I just had to start speedrunning. And I'm gonna reveal that. That's gonna be revealed in the future. But it sort of all came true. I think it's been weird. I think the past 5 or 6 years they've been strange. They've been really strange. But I think it's all working out. It's all coming together. If Crystal was not there, I don't think I would be speedrunning right now.
Wow. Okay.
Do you want to expand on Strange at all?
Well, Crystal's runs were basically all fake, and that kind of came out last year, or like the idea that they're all fake, and that was like it was kind of hard. It's kind of a blow to my heart, and then it's kind of a blow to a lot of the League of the Past community. It's been extremely shattered and like disbanded over the years. And then not only that, but all last year I really was working on cheating a lot. You know how many people are cheating and speedrunning, and it like kind of bothered me. And then we're doing positivity this year. This year we're doing all positivity. So I'm feeling real good about this year.
Love and peace. All right. Well, when was the switch? Because I had like no idea who you were. And then you just came out of nowhere, and then you had like this big, like you said, very outspoken, very alpha. When did you stop being a beta? What was the switch?
I'm gonna write a book on that one day. But what we're trying to do is alpha gaming here, and that's trying to get people to be more positive, but also stand up for themselves and stand up for their speedrunning, which
Okay.
I think that's like one way to counter cheating. But yeah, there were several switches. Like I would say 2015, that was it was a big boom in my life, but had nothing to do with speedrunning. And then 2016 was when another guy named Downtime Death started splicing speedruns, and a lot of the
Mhm.
community supported him. They didn't support the spicy, but they just kind of supported him in general, and that really bothered me because I don't think they should be supporting the guy. And then that's kind of when I went gig tao. I went my own way. I went gamers going their own way. So I started doing my own thing, and then 2018 I got really into like being me and like trying to help people out and like talk to people and like that's when I started making YouTube videos. Actually, it's a bad story. It's not a very nice story. But in 2017, there was a thing in Denmark. I think Chief, you actually know about this.
Okay.
There's a TV show in Denmark. Remember
Yeah,
that?
yeah, I went to that. I was one of the people in the show. Yeah.
Yeah, I was invited to that, but it didn't work out. And
Right. Yeah. Of course. I remember that.
yeah,
And
things didn't work out for me.
I actually didn't. So when I got the email actually said of the invitation. The email said who else was invited, and I saw WQQQQ, and I was like, who on earth is WQQ?
Wait, really?
Yeah, I was like, what on earth is his name? Like what? So that's pretty funny, but yeah, you never ended up going, so I never actually got
Yeah,
to know you were.
things didn't quite work out, and I got really upset and frustrated. And then it's not the nicest story in the world, but I kind of hit. I wouldn't say I hit rock bottom because, in my opinion, we're always going uphill. We're always going uphill,
Okay.
but I had to really like I had to evaluate what I was doing and who were my friends and like who I stood behind. And like that's also when I kind of said I'm just screw it all, screw it all. You know, we're just gonna go up. And like I cut off a lot of ties in 2000 middle 2017, June,
Okay.
July. That's also when I started doing no reset runs. I did no reset runs from June to March 2018. So
It's a
that's
tough thing to do. No,
yeah,
no reset runs are not an easy task.
yeah, that was interesting. That was a really interesting point in my life.
I will say I think no reset runs are the ultimate way to go for speedrunning, in my opinion. Like it's so powerful when you have the power, when you have the strength to never reset a run. To me, I literally every day I think about it. Every day I wake up and I'm just like, dude, today can I please finish a run? Can I just be like, I'm gonna do a no reset run and actually do it? And the answer is 100% all the time is always no. But like it's literally the hardest thing in speedrunning to do. It's the
I did
hardest
that.
thing.
Yeah, I did that today too. I never finished the run today. I really want to.
God, it's awfully hard, but every time you finish a run, it feels good. Like you always feel like you accomplished something and you're getting better. But it's so hard. But you were able to
Yeah,
do it for that long without.
I did. So there's a few reasons I stopped doing that. Yeah, I actually logged it all too. If you go to my Twitch channel,
Okay.
there and follow me on Twitch, gamers. No, there is a resource, a document of my run history. So I was did runs for 9 months, and then I never actually did reset. So I reset a few times, and there were a few reasons I stopped doing it because it's a little arbitrary. Eventually, I started doing defeat Aghanim runs, which is the first 30 minutes of the game, and then there's this RNG boss called Aghanim. So if I got bad RNG, I would just call it a defeat Aghanim run, right? So I'm not really resetting. It's a little like this is getting silly. So I just started resetting because this is dumb. And then I did reset a few times. I think my power went out once. I had to reset on that. My Super Nintendo froze. Again, you have to reset. And then
Yeah.
I played Super Mario World, and I did a 2-player. I picked 2 players instead of 1 player, and I just couldn't do it. So I reset that run. But I would AFK. I'm not even kidding. Like the first 50 or 100 runs, I would just stop playing the game. I would like go on a run, or I would take a 20-minute break.
What the
And that
hell?
was like absolutely devastating. It's so devastating on your mind and
How
your mental
so?
game. And
Can you elaborate?
like you play for like 50 minutes and the run is dead from the start, so you have no chance of PBing, and you're like plus 10 minutes the whole way through, and then like you die twice on a boss, and like I would just go, I would hit rock bottom, like mentally. I was like, this I can't do it. I can't play right now, but I don't want to reset, so I would just stop playing. I would literally like go on a run,
That's
Interesting.
like a little 10-minute jog. Yeah, come back home motivated, prepared, ready to game, ready to do the more no reset runs. because it's like you kind of hit a black hole because there's no out, there's no PB, like you give up. I mean, you're basically giving up on PBing because like how are you gonna PB if you do 2 runs a day and you have a 10% chance of PBing if you play perfectly? It's like the odds of PBing goes down a lot. So that's actually a lot of the reason I do the alpha gamer stuff is because it's like I think if you get that low, if you get that down in speedrunning, you can always bounce back. You can always choose to do good and choose to fight back, and that's why I call it alpha gaming.
Wow.
One of the reasons.
Inspirational, radiating.
It really is. I would agree with everything you said. I mean, that exact feeling. I felt it today. I felt it hours ago when I was doing Mario, where I had a bad run and I felt instantaneous, and the rock bottom feeling that you get it's instantaneous. It comes on like that, and it's like you instantly feel like, wow, I do not want to do this right now, and like you can't PB, you don't want to continue the run no matter what, but so like that fight to continue the run and finish anyway is the hardest thing ever. But I think it is good though, because when you do push yourself and you finish it, and especially if you're playing really bad and you want to reset, but you decide not to, and then you play really well after and make it a good run, it's the best feeling ever.
Yeah, I think it stems from, like, obviously if you're doing no resets, you can't expect a PB, but always, you're on the run and you're like, yo, like, this is going good. This could PB. And then all of a sudden something happens. And then you just like pull out the shotgun and just put the barrel in your fucking throat. And then it's tough. So I feel like a lot of it is just expectations. Like you really have to, it's all mental, like alpha gaming, you gotta have your mentality on point.
Yeah, I think other reason I think like a lot of people don't know this about me, but I feel like I'm one of the more underground speedrunners in like the entire scene, and I always talk about this thing called ego, and like I think some people like try to be underground or they try to look underground, but like I mean I like really was in the underground, and I think I have my own ego in that sense. But I mean, I think that people should be more positive, and a lot of the cheating that happened last year that like it kind of bothered me because it's like I had to deal with that in 2016. I had to see the cheating, and I think, and the guy who was cheating actually, I verified his time on the leaderboard. That like really bothered me because I didn't even look at his run. I just verified it because like I wasn't thinking straight. And then, but I think he was cheating because that's actually part of the reason I don't trust leaderboard moderators because I've been there. But I think if he was more like, if he had more confidence in what he's doing and he had more like, support for what he was doing, like he was speedrunning because he was getting older and he started to not believe in what he was doing anymore. And I think that's part of the reason he cheated. I don't know why he cheated. I don't know why anybody cheats.
I think that's a understandable reason. Or I could get if somebody feels like they feel like there's no point of what they're doing anymore, and they feel like they've passed that sense of caring about the entire community, then they won't care if they cheat or not because they won't care if they're banished from the community at the end of the day.
I think it's sad. I think we need more alpha gamers.
Yeah, I've never understood. Cheating has never made sense because it's just like the fun part is getting a good run. Like it feels so good when you finally do it, but when you just hack a run, it's like I don't know what feels good about that. I don't know. Beta, dude. All these betas. But hopefully with WQ, hopefully more people can smash the subscribe button, hit the fucking bell so that you can dab on all the haters, then maybe we'll be in a better place. Hopefully 2019 is the year where everybody rises up. We're all waiting for it. Some people are rising up, but some people are shit.
No, but I mean, dude, to summarize it all up, I think this the meaning alpha gaming in WQ's eyes is a lot more than I think people tend to think or meets the eye. I mean, especially after you explained it, alpha gaming. It's a lot than what it sounds like. It's a lot more.
There's like
it's deep.
There's like the surface level too, like the memes, and like I think there's a lot of like right wing like connotations or whatever. But that stuff is all like entirely like it's like I never. That's never the angle. The angle is actually the real angle is about. It's something I call ego, and it's beta gaming, which is when you try to make an image that you're good at something, and then what happens is it doesn't work. It's just an image, and then you actually lose. intentionally, and that's why it's called alpha and beta gaming. And that's why the truth behind alpha gaming is to go forward, is to get back up and go forward, like regardless of what has happened. Like just get back in there, be a winner, be a fighter.
So there you go, viewers. Alpha gaming, it's all about picking yourself back up and going again. It's all positive, man.
So how do we become alpha? Is it like when you click the subscribe button, or is it like
You gotta hit that subscribe button. You gotta make sure you really smash that subscribe button too,
yeah.
and then hit the like button.
All right.
Okay, then it's that easy.
It's that easy. It's that easy, boys. All you do is smash the phone.
It's also I need the money, guys. It's a scheme out here. This is a business,
Right. He admits it, dude. It's all a scam. You heard it here first, boys. It's not real. But still smash that smash that subscribe button. Come on. So was it just like it came to you in a vision? You're like alpha gaming, or did you kind of craft it over time? You're like, what do I call this? How do I
I'm glad you asked, actually. No one ever asked me that. But it has like in August of 2017 when like, okay, so I didn't make the Denmark trip, didn't happen. And we won't go into why that didn't happen, but it didn't happen. And then I was on my own. I was completely on my own after that, like mentally too. I was like, okay. And so I decided that like it's good branding. This is really good branding. If I say alpha gamer, it's kind of funny.
Your ears perk up. You're like, what the fuck is this idiot talking about?
He got
at first.
It's mirrored. It says alpha gamer. But
oh wait, what does that say?
Is it mirrored? It's backwards, right?
No, I got you. I just fucking with you.
I gotta show the stream. All right, there we go.
I have my name on the back actually.
Alpha gamer Wqqqqwrt.
Oh damn!
There we go.
Dude, you got the merch game unlocked.
Yeah, I got the flex flag. You know what I'm saying?
You got to do it.
But yeah, it was like really good branding. And then what happened was it also worked along the lines of my theories about ego and natural gameplay and human behavior and social behavior too, because a lot of it actually had to do with clicks. Because I think clicks in general try to bring people down, and I don't like that. And I'm always trying to be myself, which means do whatever I like to do. And so sometimes I do things that are a little weird, and then people say, he's a bad person or whatever, and it's like, or they like try to mock you and make fun of you. And like the thing with the guy who was cheating, he was always doing that to me, and people like agreed with him. But then he started cheating, and that's what bothered me. Okay. That's what messed me up. That really bothered me for like years. And then that's why I started to say like, you be alpha, be who you are, and then let's fight the clicks. And then it actually works with my theories about natural gameplay and gameplay in general. So it just worked out really well. Like I would love for somebody to copy my ideas because I don't think they could.
So you mentioned. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I mean, my own kind of like expands to another thing, so I want you to finish your point first.
Well, I was going to go to a different thing too, so now we're really having some problems.
So you mentioned, WQ, you don't believe in having clicks, really, right? What do you mean exactly by a click in that sense?
So this is kind of a touchy subject because I'm actually trying to fix the link to past click right now. If you can believe it, 2 days ago or 3 days ago, I decided to be more positive. And we're trying to fix the link to past click through positivity. But I think a click is when you have people that they like stop believing in themselves, and they start believing in things outside of them. And then what happens is they say, this group of people is going to help me out. This group of people is going to support me. And so clicks care about the click. Click doesn't care about themselves or the people involved in the click. They care about the structure of the click, because the structure of the click gives power to them, and that gets them through their own suffering and depression, basically. So I think the whole system is rigged to lose, and so that's part of the reason I say if you don't join the click, because you're basically giving up on life, and it's a long, slow. You're giving up in 40 years. You're giving up for the rest of your life. Like, and actually, you guys are speedrunners. I'm glad you guys are speedrunners, because a lot of people you talk to this about, they don't understand it. But speedrunning is hard sometimes. Sometimes it is about going forward, and also about realizing real truth. Real truth. Like you have to really look at what you're doing wrong. There's nobody can help you out, right? It's like and I think that's why that's a lot of my theories about the click. So a lot of people say link to the past click. I have said SM64 click in the past. Everything has a click, There's
So-
always clicks.
Would you acknowledge that there's the difference between a clique and a group and a circle jerk and all that stuff? Do you think
Well-
clique kind of defines something else apart from just a community? You wouldn't put the same definition for those two words?
People always say the WQ Army is a clique, but that's not possible
Okay.
because I only care.
It's an
about
army fundamentally.
Yeah, it's fundamentally it's kind of an
out of
army.
a clique. Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright.
But
that
it's because I only care about myself, so it's hard to be a clique. If somebody disagrees with me, I don't really care about their opinion.
Right.
Yeah, it's hard to be a clique, you know.
Well, there you go. But I guess, you know, the hard thing is to accept the fact that a lot of people do only care about themselves, right? But it's kind of not their fault that they only care about themselves. People care about themselves first. So, like, if you're part of a clique,
I think it's good. Yeah.
yeah,
I think it can be good.
because when you're part of a clique and I guess the notion of it is kind of like, you know, to care about everybody inside there. But what the real truth is, like you said, is that people really care about themselves. Then it becomes a problem. Potentially.
Well, I think what happens is people give up and then they sacrifice part of them for the clique because the clique gives them structural like support and power and like.
Okay.
I think people that should be inside of people. I don't think that should be. I think people should find that inside themselves. So it's definitely not like a like there's parts in history and society where you absolutely had to be a part of the group. Like there's nothing you can do about it. Like you're gonna die. You know, like 1,000 years ago. Like what are you gonna do? So it's like it's definitely interesting. And actually, I think it's really interesting in 2019 because of all the technology that we have.
Yeah.
Most people that are successful in line, it's being themselves. You know, isn't that weird? So I don't know if it's because the quality of life is going up or what, but it's definitely that's really interesting to me.
That is a good
But
point.
I do think if somebody's bringing you down, and I don't think you should submit to them. I do think that stuff like that cliques want you to submit to they want you to submit to the clique. They never want you to be yourself because if you submit to if you're yourself, you might challenge the clique. You might challenge the order. They don't want that. They never want you to challenge or they need a clique to have structural power.
Well, that's just like real life system, like the system,
The
government, the system. They want you to follow the system.
I think that's fair. Yeah, I think that's a good argument. I think it's fair.
Yeah, it's true.
Superhero is bringing up something. He's like, I'm so confused. Doesn't having a community important like family? There's definitely a difference. Like I think you look and you observe what's going on in a group, and you can sort of differentiate. Like clique is a word you can use. I like it seems to have a negative connotation, but there's obviously groups where there's people that are positive, like, and I wouldn't call that a clique, where people are like they're like pumping you up. They're like, yeah, like you can do that. Or there's like groups where people are like, you know what, nah, like it's not worth doing that.
Like you said, it's almost like an army. What a clique is, and that's why I asked WQ, like, you know, does he think that differences between those words? Because I do think that there's a big difference between a community and a clique. It suggests something else, like would that way different too. So we need to like make sure we know what we're talking about.
So. I think so. I think if you can be yourself, I don't see how it could be a clique. I think if you could be yourself, and it's kind of because now it's like you're trying to blackmail people into being themselves. Like you're trying to like, you know, I do whatever I want to do. I don't care what people say about me. But
damn, this guy's alpha as fuck. God damn. All right, well, moving on from that topic, is there anything else you guys want to say on that?
We're good.
Yeah, I don't actually like talking about that stuff because it's negative. I'm trying to be positive now. We're going to positive things.
Okay, bouncing a little bit backwards. Natural gameplay. What does natural gameplay mean to you, and how is it intertwined with alpha gaming?
Dude, actually, like, I'm not gonna lie. This is extremely complicated and takes 3 hours to explain sometimes. It's my favorite thing in the universe.
All right, try to give us the sweet, you know, clickbait.
I had an epiphany in 2017 in January, and I think it was the 21st, but I don't remember. But it was in January, and I had an epiphany about gameplay that was recreatable and the power of recreatable gameplay. And all natural gameplay means is that it's looking at gameplay that actually happened. So natural just means happened. It's the same thing with natural selection. So and actually I think this is really interesting because if you look at natural selection, which most people agree on is true, right? Wouldn't you guys agree?
Yeah.
Right, with evolution and stuff. So in natural selection, if something happens, it was the optimal form of evolution, right? It's like whatever there is no such thing as like, oh, people could have wings, right? Wouldn't we be better with wings? Not by natural selection. That's not possible, right? Because whatever, it doesn't matter why, whatever trait evolved, that's the optimal trait, right? So natural gameplay is very similar to that, where it's like whatever is happening is actually it's technically optimal, but then you get into this weird argument of how is choking or how is losing optimal, and then you get into this thing called ego, which is when people they want to lose because it helps their ego out. And then how do you fix ego? And I think how do you fix ego is an interesting question, because if you try to fix ego, you're just creating it. That's an egotistical move. You're just creating ego, so you actually can't directly fix ego.
So correct me if I'm wrong. Where you're trying to get at, I think, is natural gameplay involving, and when you put ego into it, it's like involving the idea of an individual never really believing that they could ever lose in a sense or do wrong, or that it's all about just improving all the time and not caring about mistakes, but just keep on going until you.
Well, natural gameplay was just it was effectively it's just the thought or the argument or the study of gameplay in a natural sense, in a natural context, like looking at gameplay as in what actually happened and looking at what actually is happening and creating what is recreate. That's why it's recreatable is so important into the argument, because if you can recreate something, you can guarantee that it happens, right? And that's effectively how you defeat ego, because ego is like when you want to try to manipulate or control a result. I call it output based, but I'm moving away from that definition because it's hard, it's complicated. But when you try to do something that's like, if you're trying to get a specific result, that's actually an egotistical move. That is all ego, because whatever's going to happen is going to happen, right? You don't control reality. You don't control the RNG you get. You don't control the frames you hit. None of that you control. Like if you just did a no reset run, if you just flat out did a no reset run, what would happen? You have no idea. And there's a ton of variables, right? So people want to control, they want to get a specific result. That's what ego is. So that is what ego is. And then the argument is how do you fix ego? Because if you can fix ego, you can get better at the game. And that's a complicated argument. But do you guys agree with that one? If you can fix ego, you can get better at the game.
It's funny because I actually think I understand exactly what you're trying to say. I understand where you're coming from. Go ahead.
Wait, you say what you're gonna say, because there's some interesting arguments for this.
No, in terms of like, do I agree with that? That point, I don't know if I understand it correctly, to be honest.
Let's look at a mentality argument. I love mentality arguments. I actually don't believe in mentality at all. I think your gameplay comes down to your movement and movement optimization and how well you understand movement. I don't agree with mentality, but let's say you shoot, how do you, like, if you want to, let's say you're going to run. Let's look at something. Let's say you're going to run and you get nervous or you get anxious and then you choke, right? And so somebody will create a mentality in contrast to that, to say like, okay, I got to stay calm. Therefore, I'll play better. That's ego, right? That's not necessarily a true statement. That is their ego in effect trying to help them get better or trying to make them win, right?
Okay.
And then let's say that I say in order to get better at a game, you have to have less. And so you say, okay,
have less.
I won't.
Sorry, your mic cut
ego.
Have less ego. Okay.
Yeah. So then you say, okay, sure, I won't create the mentality then in response to anxiety. I won't create the mentality, therefore, to have less ego, right? Because if creating mentality is ego, I won't create the ego. That is ego, right? You're still trying to create a result. You are trying to create the result. That's what ego is, because you don't fundamentally control results. You only control, well, your space right now, what you're in. You only control input into the function. You don't control the output. The goal is to get the output, which is like a PB or it's like a better run, right? And this is why it's so interesting to me. This is why I love it so much. But what natural gameplay was, it was an actual effective solution to it. So does that?
I'm following exactly what you're saying, but is that where it stops? Like you say, natural games, it's a solution to it. So how does it, I guess,
Okay, so
act as a solution? Exactly.
okay, so I did two things. One, I looked at what's optimal, and I introduced a new element into optimization. And actually, the lowest level speedrunner who has no understanding of speedrunning, oftentimes they'll say whatever's optimal is whatever is found in a task, right? And a tool assisted speedrun. That's the fastest thing, therefore it's optimal, right? But it's obviously not, because you can't do it in a run. You can't do that in real time. So it's like obviously not optimal. So whatever's fastest isn't optimal. We can establish, right?
Yeah.
Right. So,
I mean,
but
okay.
a speed run, you want to go fast. Wait, have a case simply.
Say again.
Well,
You had to look-
okay, but I guess optimal I think there's two kinds of optimal. There's optimal in the literal sense, like time-wise, if something is optimal, the fastest route would be optimal. But optimal for a certain speedrunner, every speedrunner has their strengths, I guess. So like something that's optimal for you wouldn't be optimal for another person because another person can't seem to get that certain strat consistently, or it doesn't work for them, but it works for you.
Okay.
Even if it might work faster, it won't be optimal for them to do it.
Right. So to do something the best is it's a complex definition, right? There's no like and you see people say no, that well in the task, I'll just use the task argument. They'll say no, this task is optimal, but I would call it. I just call it ego. It's their ego talking. They don't know that it's optimal. They think that it's optimal, right? Because interestingly, and I wish I had an argument for this. People pursue what they think is optimal, and I've tried creating arguments for that. I tried creating counter arguments as well, but I think do you guys think it's true? I think it's true when people only pursue what they think is the best thing to do.
People only pursue what they think is the best thing you do, you said?
Yeah.
Are you talking about the speedrunner that comes on the scene and they're like, okay, I'm learning all the fastest strats right away. I don't care if I can't do them that well. Obviously, they're the fastest, so I'm doing them. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, yeah, we're kind of getting that guy's a big ego, basically. Ego.
Sure.
Actually, that was me too, by the way. In 2013, that was. Yeah. Wait. Basically, I introduced this element, this part of the equation of this optimal. I call it natural. If something's natural, it's a factor in whether it's good or not. Its value is affected by whether it's natural. Now, natural just means if it happened or not. Natural just means if you can do it or not. So whether something is more natural or not actually gives a certain strategy value. So, for example, on one of this one strategy in the Link of the Past where you kill he's called Argus, he's the boss of the Swamp Palace, and you can do a 0-cycle Argus, right? So you do the 0-cycle Argus, it's great. So when the Argus is going up in the air, if you pause the game when he's halfway going up on the screen, and you pause the game, he keeps going up on the screen. So it says like 15 frames, right? Great time save. Now, the thing is, you have to hold your sword out to kill him. So most people, they will slash their sword, and then when he's going up on the screen, they'll pause. The thing is, that's less natural than if you were not holding your sword when you pause, because there's less inputs to be. So that's why I introduced this element called whether it's natural or not, because you're not going to see a difference in that. If you're looking at gameplay and you're trying to optimize gameplay and you're saying, okay, it's this one's 13 frames and this one's 12 frames, you're not going to see a difference, a quantitative difference in whether you're holding an extra button. Because if you're holding more buttons, it's more complicated. Your brain has to do more processes, which means it's less natural. So that's the why I introduced this argument, this part of the equation called natural, because you can now start to optimize things whether they're not or not there's even frames. And then the whole point is that it is technically faster. It's not actually, there's no way in any task environment or any real-time environment that it's actually faster. But it's technically faster because it's easier and you end up getting better times on average or in the long run.
That right there. That right there is a very good point. That's what I've said. I've said that multiple times in a different way, but I've said it. I've said
absolutely.
I've said that. Well, I do this strat, but guess what? I am able to do this strat 95% of the time, and I'm able to get past it 95% of the time. Whereas
it's more natural.
Whereas you're doing time up less, but every single time I see you do it, you struggle with it, or 50% of the time, you're missing it. So it's like, yeah, okay, it's faster, but if it's 50% consistency as opposed to 95, and it's only saving 2 seconds, I'm not gonna do that strat because it's not. To me, it doesn't feel like you said. I guess you could say it doesn't feel natural. To me, it's not optimal. To you, You might think it's optimal physically, right? But for me, it's not optimal in my progression of speedrunning, right? And so I have a question for you then. After you said that, do you believe that the term muscle memory is a thing?
Yeah, I do. I think people put too much. I've seen it misused a lot. Like I've literally found easier to do and they're faster, and I literally put it into my muscle memory in 0 attempts, and then I can do it instantly. Right. So it's like I think some people like they'll practice something 10 hours a day to like get it into their muscle memory, but it's not really, to me, it's not really about muscle memory. It's about beliefs and getting something into your beliefs. If you can believe in a strat, if you can believe a strategy is better, then you'll do it every single time. You'll have no qualms whether you do it. You have no questions whether it's good or not. So in a high pressure situation, you can execute it better. That's what matters. So
this man is making me want to cry.
Well, the thing is, I'm glad you bring up this Tama Plus thing. And I know you understand a lot of stuff because you're really good at speedrunning. But the thing is, a lot of people, and this is why I call it ego, a lot of people with the Tama Plus, they want to convince themselves they can do the Tama Plus. And so they'll find different ways to convince themselves to do it. And they'll find a lot of different ways. Like some people, and people used to do this in Link to the Past, they'll practice, they'll do it 100 times, and they'll be like, I got it 98 times, therefore I can do it, right? That's output based. That's not, you don't necessarily know that you can do it 100 times. You know, it's, you don't believe, who says you can do it 100 times out of 100 times?
In a run, in a setting when you're nervous on time. Yeah, it's different.
That's what matters.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not, that's actually the only thing that matters, right? And this is why I call it ego, because people are constantly creating this construct of gameplay. Exactly. And they're saying, oh, I can do this and I can do that. But unless it happens, we don't know that you can do it. And this is why natural gameplay actually does solve ego, because natural gameplay is about making gameplay recreatable and then executing recreatable gameplay instead of, finding whatever is technically optimal by some argument that they don't believe in. Isn't that interesting? And actually, it gets more interesting. But isn't that interesting?
Yes, it is. It's very interesting.
I have a point that I want to know. Like, okay, if it's natural, like if you're a believer in natural gameplay, you're always doing what feels right to do in a run.
Yeah,
I'm not necessarily gonna say that, but I mean, I follow.
Wait, did he just cut out for you? What'd you say?
Did I cut out?
Yeah,
you're good now. Say it again.
I follow your point. I'm not going to say that's true, and there's a few reasons, but
I guess
your point.
The question I have is like when you're ready to upgrade, like something's too easy, or like there's a 5-second time save that you need now because you're at a point where, well, you don't need it, but like you're trying to update your strats so that you can improve your time. Like how does that play into natural gameplay?
Well, actually, that's part of the reason I stopped resetting, because I wasn't getting those good times. And so I think that I think natural gameplay actually has a lot to do with beliefs. So if you believe that the 5-second time save is worth it, then you're going to accept that there's a risk involved, because the 5-second time save is better. So actually, that's really interesting, because if you look at natural law, it doesn't matter whether something's difficult or not. It matters whether it's happening or not. So easy strats you don't do. You guys and top speedrunners, they can't do easy strats. It's not possible, because you don't believe in the easy strategy. And so easy strategies are actually less natural than harder strategies, right? Isn't that interesting? Yeah. So
just crazy. Everything you're saying right now is exactly what I've thought of and said many times before. Yeah, it's interesting. It's really interesting. I mean, I think you're right. It's just very true, and that exact point, it's so true that like easy strats. There have been many times where I would be in a run and I would decide to do an easier strat that's significantly easier, but deep down inside, I agree with that. I don't believe in this strat. I don't believe that this is a good strat to do, because to me, I haven't done it much before, and so in my belief system, and in my muscle memory, in my everything, I don't believe in the strat. So I screw it up big time, because it's not what I am affiliated with, right? So
yeah,
even though it's way easier, and anyone could do it.
Well, I even go like to extreme lengths. Like we're talking about like failing. Well, I want to say failing the Lakitu cam skip. But like, imagine if instead of jumping, you just walked to the Lakitu cam. That's literally not in your system. You cannot do that.
Yeah.
Like it's not possible to be done for you. because why would you do that? There's absolutely no reason to do that. So I can go even more extreme. Like that's actually a less natural strategy, even though it's way easy. Anybody can do that. It's much easier to do. It's easier to do technically, but since you're not going to be able to do it, how can it be as natural? It's the same with natural selection. It's the same argument. It doesn't matter actually what. It doesn't actually matter what you think is optimal. What you think is better. It actually matters what is actually happening, right?
Yeah, it's like doesn't really matter what is hard or easy. Technically, then in that sense.
Yeah, it's really interesting because, and this is actually the real reason I call it alpha, because if you fail something by the natural argument, you intentionally failed it. It was better to fail it, and the only reason I can think of that somebody would intentionally fail something is ego, is because of their ego, because they want to look like they could have done it. They want to look better. They want to look like they want to fit in with somebody. I don't know, whatever reason their ego would cause them to fail it, right? Again, this is by the natural argument. This is the same argument as natural selection. So who's alpha, who's the most alpha in the group, has overcome their ego the most and has actually succeeded, and it's only provable with results. That's only something you can prove with actual results, which is incredible to me, because you see this better in speedrunning than most things. Like, there actually are tangible leaderboards and tag records, right? You don't have that in like Melee and League of Legends. They have a yearly tournament series. You don't know who's the best. Next year, a month after the tournament, you don't know who's the best. So I think speedrunning emphasizes this stuff way more than any other esport. Actually, way more than anything in history. And I talk about this a lot in my videos. Anybody can do speedrunning. Anybody can speedrun. Basically, right? It's less technical discrimination. Like, I don't really believe in discrimination. I think everything is just gameplay. Everything is gameplay, and all mistakes are ego. Every mistake, it's just deeper. Like, once you overcome ego, it doesn't go away. It's just coded deeper, because you can still make an error. So, and it's like this eternal battle of, like, you need to overcome your ego by getting better at the game. And actually, natural gameplay is effectively just getting better at the game. I could probably show you like 1,000 or 2,000 different changes I made from January 1st to March 1st. Natural gameplay, the epiphany hit me at the end of January. Well, from literally that point to like until February or March, when I was done practicing, I could show you like 1,000 or 2,000 different actual gameplay changes. And we're talking about stuff like not holding the B button when my menu goes up, right? If somebody doesn't think naturally, that'll never occur to them that it's actually probably better to not hold that button, because guess what? It's harder to press the start button. You have to focus on more things. So you actually press the start button later, or on average, you press the start button later. So in real time, it actually is an actual tangible difference in real time. And I actually do get faster Argus menus than other players. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that crazy? I think that's crazy to me.
Well, I feel like there's more variables to it than that, because there's of course an argument where somebody would rather hold the button than not. Like, it feels more natural because they're used to it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think that's fair, but the thing about natural gameplay is it comes down to recreatability. So how recreatable something is that has primary value. And so and I would argue that having the controller holding the B button is less recreatable, because there's more things to focus on. If you randomly let go of the B button, and actually I played Mario for 2 months. I'm glad I did. I would always accidentally press the ground pound or accidentally do Mario Cam, and like the whole thing's done, right? So in my opinion,
done.
Yeah, right. If you're like flying in the flying level, in my opinion, how you fix that stuff is not through. It's practice actually helps, but you actually fix that through naturalization. You make your gameplay more natural. You make it more recreatable, and then it actually helps.
How?
Yeah, that feels like
simplify it. Well, one way is to simplify it, right? Because if something's simpler, it's more recreatable, right? Finding better visual cues, finding better audio cues.
Okay, good argument.
Finding, like, I'm guessing in Mario, because I didn't play Mario too much, and I honestly never practiced it. I never practiced it. But in my opinion, like, one thing maybe in Mario is with the speed values. So if you learned like speed values and how much distance you go in a frame. See, I don't know too much about Mario. It's hard to talk. But in A Link to the Past, I could give you I could talk a lot. I could talk forever in Link to the Past, because one thing I learned about Link to the Past and naturalization is, so when you enter a door in A Link to the Past, so the thing about doors in A Link to the Past is, the outside edge, like one tile in both directions outside of a door in A Link to the Past, it lags if you hold the diagonal. And if you nudge in a door, it loses time. So you want to enter doors in A Link to the Past head on, like on the exact center.
Okay.
So it's actually slower if you aim for the exact center. It's faster in a task environment, but in a real-time environment, it's slower because what happens is if you overshoot a door, you lose 4 times as many frames as if you undershoot a door. So it's actually faster in a real-time setting to undershoot a door than to overshoot a door. And the reason is because if you undershoot a door, you lose 0 to 1 frames on the first nudge, and then you would lose 1 frame on the next nudge, and it starts compounding if you enter really soon. If you overshoot a door, you actually lose a frame for every frame that you overshoot the door, and then you start to lose extra frames for nudging on the way back. So you end up losing way more frames. So naturally, it's actually faster to enter doors early and intentionally lose time. So it's actually slower in a task setting, but it's actually way faster to intentionally lose time. This is part of naturalization. So it's like, if you don't, and that's an interesting argument because I don't have to explain my theories to somebody. What I do is I visually show them the different timings, and then somebody who's like, a reasonable experience with the game will be like, oh, this is obviously better to undershoot it. I mean, you lose 1 frame instead of 13 frames. 13 frames is a lot in Link to the Past, but you lose 1 frame instead of 13 frames. Like if you're in a high pressure run, oh, I'm taking those 1 frame, dude. Give me that 1 frame loss. I don't care about entering in the. Sometimes you lose 3 frames. Like who cares? So, my main argument about naturalization is if you believe in something, if it's very simple and easy, that's good because you can implement that immediately. And so, like I think simplifying gameplay is a really easy way to just like naturalize something. I think also practicing and then like finding like really detailed technical stuff. What do you guys think about that? I mean, that's fundamentally what it is.
It's like the strat Jeremy Canlis. So Jeremy Canlis was 5-6 months ago, where this video from an old player named Miles, who, funny enough, was also a cheater and cheated the 16-star world record back in 2014.
I call him baby gamer.
He made a video about this crazy triple jump dive in Jeremy, right? So I was streaming one day at Derby and I was messing around there and Siglamic was in my chat and he was like, yo, there's this triple jump dive thing you can do. And he showed me the video and I saw it and I was like, this is sick. I practiced for hours. I made up movement for the second half of the star and I performed Derby Canlis. And after a bunch of timing for like a month, we realized it was faster. Now there's a big argument because a lot of people in the community said, oh, look, here is the visual evidence of the video showing that it doesn't save time. So that means that it does not save time, RTA.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And I have a big problem with that because, and I don't mean to, talk shit about the SF64 community. They're my favorite community. They do insane work. But me personally, I don't believe, I think it's a very unfair argument because everybody's RTA is different. Right? And when I calculated it, it saved 3 seconds from me. For how I do my gameplay and how I do my strats, for me, it was saving 3 seconds. So I was able to do this crazy strat enough, and now it's become my simplified or natural. I was able to simplify it enough so it became naturalization. So now I do the strat in runs without even thinking about it. Because to me, I believe in the strat, I believe it's a good strat. And now I just do it in runs now, and I'm able to do it.
Yeah,
wait. You talk.
It's interesting. I feel like it's to me it sounds like it's just a buzzword for saying like you want to stay modest, like stay humble with your gameplay type thing.
Actually, I'll talk. I like that. I like where you're going. I want to argue about. I want to bring up a point about that. Keep talking.
So like whenever I've played speedrunning, I've always had the same sort of mindset. It's like, okay, I'll stick with what's comfortable and see how far I can push it. And then once it starts feeling like the time that I'm trying to beat or the runs that I'm doing are not up to snuff, like I feel like I'm used to these strats and I know that there's better strats, then I'll be like, all right, it's time to update. And it's just like, it's basically to me, it sounds like the same as staying up to date and staying, on your game, not getting lazy with your gameplay, basically. That's sort of what it sounds like you're saying.
Yeah, I can't. Well, I wanted to go back to the modesty argument because I call them a paradox of modesty because the thing is, with modesty is if you are the most modest, you're not modest anymore, right? You're being immodest, right? Or it's humility is a similar argument. So, in order to actually be even more modest, you would be not modest. That's actually even more humble. To not be humble, right? Because you're not taking any. Nobody will think of you as great, right? That's not for somebody to think of your modesty as great. It's not It's not a modest move. So you can't risk that. So you have to be purposely
Wait,
immodest,
what?
right?
This is a hard one. I'm having trouble on this one.
No, yeah. Can we? What?
Okay,
That doesn't make
so let's
any.
say-
That makes no sense.
Well, no, it is. It's because it's a competition of who can be the best at it, right? That's the thing about being modest is that like you're not being if you are trying to be modest, you're not being at all.
Right.
Well,
You're being
that's
you're
not
bragging.
trying. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
like your awareness of it.
Right. So if you're trying to be modest, you're just bragging, which is not modesty at all.
Right.
So you understand that?
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So if you intentionally start bragging to intentionally not be modest.
Mm-hmm.
If you're intentionally bragging about being modest, you're not.
No,
modest.
let's say you're intentionally bragging so that you don't come off as modest. Because
Yeah.
being modest is a form of bragging, right?
Is
This
it?
is a paradox. It's a paradox.
It's definitely throwing me. I'm definitely getting sauced up out here. Definitely a lot of sauce.
It's,
on the
I
pan.
this is
understand-
this is the type of stuff I do.
I understand the idea of why it could be a paradox. I'm just struggling to understand the actual paradox.
Yeah.
Well,
No.
okay, so, like look at modesty as a competition, right? Or let's say effectively it's a competition. Like it's like this guy's humble, but this guy's more humble, therefore he's better at the game. Do you see what I'm saying? So
Okay.
you're not more humble. Like if you're more humble, you're not as humble. You're not as modest because you're actually it's a point of bragging. Like
If
I'm
it's
way
in
more
your
modest than
head,
him.
it's like if it's in your head, you're like, oh, I'm humble as fuck. Obviously, that's not being humble. Like,
Yeah.
Exactly. So what some people will do is they'll do the opposite. They will intentionally be immodest. They'll intentionally brag so that they're not modest. In fact, I do that quite a lot because I don't want to be perceived as modest because I think that's immodest. I think people who try to look modest, they have too big of an ego.
Okay.
They don't care about what they're doing. That's what I think. Right. But then the problem is what I'm doing is it's a form of modesty in reverse, right? So I'm not even being modest myself. That's what ego is. And so that's a paradox that keeps going on. Where does it end? Right? That's what creates a paradox. That's what natural gameplay is trying to fix. And it does fix it because when you can recreate something, you create natural reality. But that doesn't matter it doesn't matter about the paradox anymore. And so effectively you need skill to beat that, right? So a lot of the argument is to get people better at the game.
Right. So that's the end.
Right.
At the end of the day, that right.
Well, yeah. I do want people to think more about thinking about movement, thinking about optimization, getting away from mentality. I really hate that stuff. And then more importantly, thinking about like real time optimization and like if you mess up something in a run or if you fail something in a run, that's 100% ego. Always, it has nothing else. It can't.
All right,
ever
but
not be ego.
if failing something in a run, if failing something out in a run is 100% ego, is it a bad thing?
I think everybody
so-
has the ego.
All right, right. So you don't think it's a bad thing to fail a run, to fail something in a run then? In saying that.
Yeah, I mean, you have to fail things in life. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not. I think if you give up, that's right. And that's why, like, again, we're going back to alpha gameplay, alpha gaming. When you give up, I think that's the problem.
Right. I would agree with that.
Like, I think in League of the Past, people always say 123 it's too good of a time, or it's the end game, or 122 is too good. I think there's any player League of the Past could get a 123 if they understood the movement and they understood the movement optimization and they did a little bit of practice. Any player could get a 123, which is a top 4 time. That would be 4th place, 23:59. But it's, in my opinion, it's entirely movement optimization. It's entirely movement optimization. There's no, like, if you understand the mechanics of how to put the puzzle together, you get the answer. That's all it is. It's like, that's why I want people to focus on. That makes your gameplay way more alpha than mentality stuff, like you don't know that stuff's real. If you save 1 frame on the strategy in real time, if you're saving 3 seconds on JRB Cannon, that's a fact. You know, if I could save like 8 frames or 6 frames on every door entrance in the game, which is like 10 seconds, that's a fact. I mean, it's a hard to deny fact.
Right.
Yeah.
I can't. The mentality is like, well, that could be an excuse. I don't know if that's an excuse. That could be an excuse.
Okay.
You know, I think that's one thing. When you were talking about Tama Plus, and I know people do this, but they try to find ways to convince themselves that they can do it consistently, but they don't know if they can do consistency. And you see players who some players do play on feel. A lot of melee players do this. Armada is very good at this. Have you guys seen how natural his gameplay is? He can recreate his combos infinitely in high pressure situations with Peach. Unreal. To me, that's just unreal. He figured out how the gameplay actually works, and then he can use the gameplay.
So
that's why you talk.
Yeah, yes, I agree. That same argument of every time somebody says, yeah, I practiced Tama Plus for 10 hours the other day, and I could do it like almost every time. And I just, that goes into my ear and comes out the other ear, because I'm just like, I can't believe what you're saying until I see you doing in runs under high pressure 100% of the time.
I say the same thing.
And because that is all that matters, right? So go ahead. If you believe that you can do it that much, then great. And if you do end up doing it consistently in runs, then shit, you've solved the puzzle.
Maybe maybe they get good at the game.
Yeah,
that means they're good at the game. Maybe they think that like. See, I think it goes even deeper, because if they're doing it at 20th place instead of first place, I don't know if I can trust that, because there's less nerves at 20th place.
That's a good point. I think it's almost like if there's a person that's 50th place and they're doing Tama Plus every time in runs consistently, it's like, well, this guy was able to overcome that obstacle and do this ridiculous strat consistently. This guy is very good at the game, so why is he 50th place? That's the question I would ask.
I call it ego. It's an image. He's just trying to look like he's good at the game. We don't know that he's good. We don't even know he cares about it. He just wants to look like he's good at the game. That's what I think. There's so many people they just want to look like they're good. Who actually wants to be good? You gotta win. You actually have to win.
That's also a good point too. Yeah. But that's a whole other topic.
There's that, but I can remember times where, like, I learned Lakitu bounce early. That's a hard trick that you don't learn until, like, you don't need it for a very long time. Like Mario, much like it sounds like Link to the Past, is very heavily movement based. So once you have the movement down, you can get crazy good times without needing crazy strats like Tama Plus, Lakitu bounce, whatever. But I wasn't learning Lakitu bounce because I was like, I want people to think I'm good. Like, I want to impress these people. I was learning it because it was fun. Like, there was no other trick in the game that I could practice for 10 hours a day at that time. I was like, this is what I want to do because it's fun.
Well, my argument about ego is that everybody has ego. It doesn't even matter what you think or say, because your ego like directs your behaviors. Like, people, you care about you know, you don't care about like you think you care about the game, but who says you care about the game? Like on a philosophical level, like, how can you even argue that you care about the game when? And I think some people care about the game more. I think this is a part of the reason. It's like you have to battle your own ego and then get better at the game. And to me, this stuff, it's the most interesting. It's the most important thing in the world. This is why I call it natural gameplay, and this is why I shill it in all my videos. One day, I think we can solve ego and get better at these games.
Well, I mean, this has been a roller coaster, but I think personally, I am understanding like 80% of what you're saying, and I understand the path you're taking. It's like step by step, and it involves like alpha gaming is about natural gameplay, and natural gameplay is about this, and then there's ego, and then there's modesty. I understand like all the steps you're taking, and I agree with like 99% of it, because I've experienced it personally. I've experienced every single thing you've said on a personal level through my career in speedrunning from beginning to now. I've gone through the same thought process. I have the same opinions when it comes to RTA versus tasks and versus, you know, making videos to show time difference in something. Like it's I understand what you're saying, I think. But if you have anything else to say on this, we can move on to like one more question.
Yeah, let's move on. One of these days, people. One of these days, I'll figure out how to explain to people.
Yeah. I think I think that would be good.
I think we
I'm
might.
interested.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I'm interested. I'm interested. I think it's a good topic to talk about. I was getting kind of lost in like
The sauce.
some of the.
Yeah.
It just felt some of it felt very hand wavy and just like I don't.
That's
It
fair.
felt like it was trying to be like really up here, but I was like down here. But I don't know.
I think.
But I think you've got something like you definitely are very passionate about it. Like it's just the way that you brought it up is very very confusing for me.
Mhm. Yeah, I think we might need another episode in the future with WQ to have this talk again. But okay. I guess we have time for one more question. I think, even though it's a little bit longer than the usual episode, but that's alright because it was quite interesting. Staring away from the mental side of speedrunning, I guess. We're talking about speedrunning events. You talk about this a lot in your videos. GDQs. You like to talk a lot about your thoughts on GDQs and stuff like that. I want to know, do you have a plan on attending events like GDQ or PACE or any of these events coming up?
I might go to SGDQ. I'm like 50-50 on it. I think realistically I won't, but
They're fun.
I
think we'd have a pretty fun time.
It's amazing.
I think there's certain things that are like making me want to, like, I'm trying to be more positive and I'm trying to get the link to pass click and get a lot of the clicks in speedrunning more positive. And I'm thinking like I kind of have to go. I think to SGDQ because I think I have to go. I think I might. I think I might go.
How about this? How about have you do you know anything about PACE? Have you learned about
I know a little bit about it. I watched your stream enough.
Okay. So there hopefully PACE would be another event in speedrunning that could be, you know, a different choice apart from GDQ for people to go to, because there is this, and I know you would agree, I guess, there is a lot of negativity about GDQ that is spread around online, talking about how GDQ has some questionable things going on, or the event itself is a bit questionable for whatever reason they have. But you know, PACE is an event that is the plan for it is to be a much more competitive style event, right? It's not about the charity. It's actually about competitive speedrunning for, you know, significant or substantial prize pools. It's a lot about, you know, the hype of speedrunning, almost like a Smash event. It's going to be a lot of hype. Yeah. The point of it is to take like competitive speedrunning and put it on into a live event and have a bunch of different stuff involved as well. So, you know, maybe people could look at that kind of event to and try to go to that one. But I think most people, like us too, if I'm going to be honest, we go to GDQ because we want to hang out with our friends. We don't go to GDQ because we want to watch the runs in the stream room. And that's, I think, the core of most people's argument is that GDQ is not an attractive event for the event. It's attractive because people want to party. And I think that's what PACE is trying to do. It's trying to be an event that is attractive for the event. But yeah.
Are you doing? What are you doing for like? Is 120 star going to be at PACE? Just for.
It could be, yeah. I mean, the run submissions are also a thing overnight. So during the day there'll be the competitive speedrunning playoffs, and then during the night there'll be showcase runs, and the showcase runs open on the 2nd of February. So like
really, that's makes me more interested to go.
Yeah, I mean, I could sit here all day and be like it's gonna be great, but we'll see. And once we see how the submissions are going, I think I would love it. I could submit a 120 star run. I think that'd be great to do there.
Yeah, I would love to see like a 70 star or 120 star like top 8 or like finals match.
But that's exactly what's gonna happen.
So sick. That would be so sick.
Well, yeah,
that's live in a live event.
Yeah, that's what's happening. Yeah,
actually, can I say one thing?
Of course you can.
About I love live tournaments because in leagues, I know you guys have an SM64 league. It values natural gameplay, it values gameplay that's recreatable, and it values skill in gameplay rather than a PB. Yeah. Now, PB does value skill as well, but when you have to beat an opponent, it values it even more. I think that stuff is so interesting. You don't have that in speedrunning. You only have PB, and it's like you can YOLO strats, but in a tournament, in a race,
Yeah.
you don't know if you want to. It's way more complex.
That's
way more complex.
that's what we've talked about on Simply Knows This. We've talked about that since the beginning of GSA. It's like, well, these tournaments, the point of it is to introduce the different side of speedrunning that is not about grinding PBs and world records by yourself and having that freedom to reset whenever you want and not feel good or bad about your run. But you're in a race situation and the goal is not to PB, the goal is to beat the other person. And you cannot reset whatsoever. So it channels an entire different, I know you don't like this word, but mindset, but you know what I'm trying to say.
I'm good. I'm open on.
Or mentality. You know what I'm trying to say.
No, I do though. Yeah. I think that stuff is it's incredible because tilting becomes a thing. But yeah, thanks for having me on here, guys.
It's been great. I don't know if you want Simp to go to Q&A or it might be too late.
Oh yeah, if you do.
I guess we could do a couple questions. Chat, let them rip. What do you want to know about the most alpha of them all? WQ. Where do I smash the button? I've been waiting this whole time for like something I can smash. I just want to smash a button. Some sort of like button, subscribe button.
Yeah, go to my YouTube channel. Go to my YouTube channel and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I am trying to get people more positive, which I actually think positive. I know I don't do mentality, but I think if you're positive about your speedruns, you get better speedruns. And this is based on my own experience. I don't really have a reason for that. I just think it's true. So I'm getting people more positive, which I actually think it's going to help out with the clicks. I think it's going to help out with the cheating. I think it's going to help out with a lot of these things. And then I'm also getting people to think more critically, much more critically about speedrunning, much more critically about themselves and improving their life. So go to my YouTube channel and subscribe to that.
Smash the subscribe button, smash the follow button. You know, he's got some banging tweets. Sometimes, you know, you have some cute videos, some very positive vibes. So if you're looking to have a little bit more of that sauce in your life, you know, here's your guy.
What I love about your username is that it's almost impossible for the name to already be taken on all social media platforms.
That's actually why I made it. That's why I made it.
It's so funny.
I accepted Eternal Darkness for a name that's unique.
Are you real? It's a good question.
I might be an AI, dude. I'm too smart. I'm too smart for the human brain. Might be an AI.
That's a subscribe button. All right.
When is the rap battle, WQ? Are you much of a rapper?
Who wants to rap?
Remix was wondering when's the WQ versus Simply rap battle.
He's trolling. I'll rap you if you want. I'm not really a freestyler, but I rap battled my English teacher once.
Damn.
Yeah, I effed him up.
Wow, that sounds amazing. All right, so rap.
I'll F up you too, dude.
So rap battle.
If you want to lose.
Okay. His name is W. Oh,
okay, shoot! Spit some lyrics, dude. Spit some lyrics.
Oh my god.
Oh, his name's WQ. Shit. I have one brain, but it seems like he has two, and they're fighting each other trying to take off loot. I just pooped in my poop.
What? That last one.
Did you like it?
Yeah, that's pretty good. I appreciate that. I appreciate the shout out.
All right, well, the questions are pretty dry, so GG's, WQ, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for coming on the Two Dads Podcast Live. It's been a joy. You guys know you can find this stuff on iTunes podcast app. You can find it on, I always forget what it's called for
the
Android.
Google Play.
Yeah, it's like Play Music or something.
Music. Okay.
And also, it'll be uploaded to Cheese's YouTube channel if you want to see our beautiful faces. So thank you very much, and have a good day.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it, guys. Love you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, gamers.
Of course.
Make sure to win.